What if Captain Rex discovered Order 66 before it happened? The sterile corridors of Camino echoed with the hum of machinery and the distant roll of thunder from the perpetual storms outside. Captain Rex stood alone in the medical bay, his gaze fixed on the empty examination table where his brother, ARC Trooper Fives, had lain just days before. Fives had died trying to reveal a sinister plot. His final words of lucidity, a desperate plea for Rex to uncover the truth. Haunted by the memory, Rex vowed to honour his brother's last request. "I'll find out what you were trying to tell me, Fives," he murmured, clenching his fists. "I promise." Determined to uncover the mystery surrounding Fives' death, Rex approached the Kaminoan administrators, requesting access to the medical logs and security footage related to his brother's treatment. "I'm sorry, Captain," Lama Su replied, his tone devoid of emotion. "Those records are classified, under direct orders from the Chancellor himself." Frustration gnawed at Rex. Why would information about a clone's medical condition be restricted at the highest level? The more he pressed, the more resistance he encountered. As he navigated the labyrinthine halls of Topoka City, Rex couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. His training had honed his instincts, and he was certain somebody was tailing him. Rounding a corner, he spun on his heel, hand hovering over his blaster. "Show yourself," he barked. From the shadows emerged a young girl with blonde hair and curious eyes. She couldn't have been more than 13. "Who are you?" Rex demanded, though he slightly relaxed upon seeing the child. "I'm Omega," she replied with a soft accent. "I've been following you. I know about Fives." Rex's eyes narrowed. "How do you know about that?" Omega glanced around nervously before stepping closer. "I work as a medical assistant. I saw what happened. If you're looking for answers, I can help." Hope sparked within Rex. "Alright, where do we start?" "Follow me," Omega whispered, leading him through a series of back corridors to a secluded lab. Inside, the familiar form of the medical droid, AZ-3, whirred to life. "Greetings, Captain Rex," AZ-3 chirped. "I assisted ARC Trooper Fives during his examination. How may I be of service?" "I need to know what happened to him," Rex said urgently. "Can you access your memory banks?" AZ's photoreceptors dimmed momentarily. "My memories of that period have been erased. However, with Omega's help, we managed to recover fragments." Omega produced a small data chip. "This contains what we could salvage. It talks about inhibitor chips implanted in all clones." Rex's heart pounded. "For what purpose?" "To ensure loyalty," AZ explained. "A control mechanism should the clones ever act against their programming." A cold realization settled over Rex. "I need mine removed. Now." "Are you certain?" AZ asked. "The procedure is risky." "Do it," Rex insisted. "I won't be a pawn in someone else's game." With Omega assisting, AZ performed a delicate surgery. As the chip was extracted, Rex felt a weight lift from his mind. "Thank you," he said, swinging his legs over the side of the medical table. "But this isn't over. I need to protect my brothers." Omega nodded. "What will you do?" "I'll start with the 501st, Rex replied, determination hardening his features. "And then, I'll need to speak with General Skywalker." Returning to the 501st Legion, Rex maintained a facade of normalcy. He couldn't risk arousing suspicion, especially if the inhibitor chips could be activated remotely. In the privacy of his quarters, he reached out to the men he trusted most. Commander Cody of the 212th Attack Battalion, Commander Wolf of the 104th, Commander Gree of the 41st Elite Corps, Commander Bly of the 327 Star Corps, and Commander Bakara of the Galactic Marines. Using secure channels, Rex relayed his findings about the inhibitor chips and their potential for control. "This is a serious claim, Rex," Cody responded, his holographic image flickering. "Do you have proof?" "I had mine removed," Rex said, showing the small scar on his temple. "I need you to trust me. We have to get these chips out before it's too late." Wolf frowned. "And if we refuse?" Rex's voice was firm. "If you refuse, you're gambling with your free will. You're soldiers, not slaves." A heavy silence settled over the comms. Then Cody exhaled. "Alright, we'll do it. But this stays quiet. If word gets out, we'll be executed for treason." Each commander made arrangements to have the chips removed from their most trusted men first, then followed by the rest of their legions. The process was slow, careful, and done in secret medical facilities. By the time the last batch of clones was freed, nearly every major clone division had removed their chips, except for the Coruscant Guard, those most loyal to the Chancellor. Only then did Rex take his findings to the one person he trusted above all others. Anakin Skywalker paced his quarters aboard the Venator-class Star Destroyer Resolute, his expression a storm of confusion and rage as he examined the inhibitor chip Rex had placed in his palm. "This was in every clone," Anakin muttered, running his fingers over the device. "Yes, General," Rex confirmed. "And it's not just a simple tracking device. These chips are designed to control us, to make us kill the Jedi. Fives figured it out, but we didn't believe him. I barely did at first." Anakin's blue eyes burned. "We have to tell the Council." Rex hesitated. "With all due respect, sir, I don't think the Jedi Council will act fast enough. We need to take this to the Senate. If we can expose this publicly, the Chancellor won't be able to silence it." Anakin clenched his jaw. He knew Rex was right. The Jedi Council would debate, deliberate, and hesitate, as they always did. He could not allow that. "There's only one person who can bring this before the Senate," Anakin said finally. "Padme." Rex nodded. "Then we better get to her before the Chancellor finds out what we know." Padme Amidala stood at the entrance of the Senate chamber, a data chip clenched in her fist. The information on it would shake the Republic to its core. Beside her, Rex and two of his most trusted soldiers, Jesse and Apple, stood guard. "Once this is presented," Padme whispered, "there's no turning back." "That's the idea, ma'am," Rex muttered. The moment they stepped toward the chamber, a sudden explosion rocked the platform beneath them. Smoke filled the air, and from the shadows, blaster fire erupted. "Ambush!" Jesse roared. A squad of unidentified troopers, clad in black armor, rushed them. They moved with ruthless precision, aiming straight for Padme. Rex and his men sprang into action, forming a defensive line in front of her. Jesse fired, taking down one assassin. Apo shot another, sending the soldier tumbling over the ledge. Blaster bolts whizzed past Padme as she ducked behind a pillar. Rex tackled an enemy to the ground, pinning him beneath his knee and tearing off his helmet. Beneath it was a clone. Rex's heart pounded. These weren't just any soldiers. These were their brothers. "Set your blasters to stun," Rex shouted. "These are clones." The assassins were relentless, their programming overriding any sense of self. Jesse was forced to gun down another before he could draw a vibroblade. With a final, well-placed shot, the last attacker fell. Rex bent over, catching his breath. They know, he growled. The Chancellor knows we're onto him. Padme straightened, determination in her eyes. Then we have to move. Now. She turned and strode into the Senate chamber, ready to reveal the truth. The Senate hall was in complete uproar. "This is treason!" Masameda bellowed, slamming his staff on the ground. "These accusations are outrageous!" Padme stood tall at the podium, unwavering. "The proof is undeniable. These inhibitor chips were implanted in our soldiers without their knowledge. The clones were bred not just to fight the war, but to be used against their will." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the chamber. Senators turned to one another in shock. "This must be investigated immediately," Bail Organa said firmly. "If these claims are true, then the Republic has been manipulated from the beginning." Masameda scowled. "The Supreme Chancellor will have the final say in this matter." "The Supreme Chancellor," Padme interrupted, stepping forward, "is exactly who we should be questioning." All eyes turned to her. She locked her gaze on Masameda. "Where is Palpatine?" The Chagrian hesitated for only a moment, but it was enough. Anakin's blood ran cold. He turned to Rex. "Get your men. We're going to Kamino." The Resolute descended upon Topoka City, under heavy rain. The 501st and the 212th moved in formation, securing the facility under Anakin and Obi-Wan's command. They demanded all the details about the chips. The Kaminoans offered their usual cold resistance. "I'm afraid that information is classified," Lama Su said, hands folded calmly. "Only the Chancellor himself has access." Obi-Wan frowned. "That's convenient." "We'll see about that," Anakin growled. As Obi-Wan led the others back to the ship, Anakin lingered, his anger simmering. He focused on Lama Su, reaching out with the Force. "You will tell me everything." Lama Su's expression twisted, and he began to resist, until Anakin pressed deeper, invading his mind. The Kaminoan gasped, his will breaking under the sheer force of Anakin's rage. "The chips are for controlling the clones," Lama Su admitted, his voice strained. "The clones are a contingency for the Jedi Purge." Anakin's breath hitched. "Purge?" "Order 66. A storm raged in Anakin's mind. He knew Palpatine was hiding something, but this was worse than he had ever imagined. He released Lama Su, who collapsed against the wall. Anakin turned on his heel, his purpose clear. He was going to the Jedi Temple, and then he was going after the Chancellor himself. The halls of the Senate building were in chaos. Blaster fire screamed through the air as the 501st and 212th advanced, their armour stained with smoke and battle scars. But before they could reach the Chancellor's chambers, a blockade of red and white armour stood in their way. The Coruscant Guard. And at the front of them stood Commander Fox. His helmet was still on, but his posture radiated determination. The Coruscant Guard had their blasters raised, aiming at their own brothers. "Stand down, Fox." Rex stepped forward, his rifle lowered. "You don't have to do this." Fox didn't move. The Chancellor ordered us to defend him. "You are all traitors." Rex's fists clenched. "We found the truth, Fox. The inhibitor chips. Palpatine placed them in all of us. He planned to wipe out the Jedi, to turn the Republic into an empire under his sole rule." "Lies." Fox's voice was cold, his loyalty absolute. You've been manipulated. The Chancellor is the only one who's ever looked out for us, and I'll die before I betray him." Rex took a slow breath. He could feel the weight of all the brothers standing behind him. The 501st, the 212th, the clones who had been freed. He raised his DC-17. "Then you leave us no choice." For a single, frozen second, neither side moved. Then, Fox fired the first shot. The room exploded into battle. Blaster bolts tore through the air as the two clone legions collided. The Coruscant Guard fought with brutal efficiency. Years of guarding the Republic's most important officials had turned them into elite warriors. But the 501st and 212th had fought on battlefields. They were seasoned warriors. Fox spun, taking down two troopers with pinpoint accuracy. "Hold the line," he barked. His men fought harder, moving with precision, defending their position with sheer discipline. But they were outnumbered. Rex cut through the chaos, twin blasters roaring. "Fox, stop this!" "Never!" Fox lunged at Rex, slamming his gauntlet into his old friend's helmet. Rex staggered back, but countered, his elbow driving into Fox's chest. The two commanders grappled, their movements fueled by desperation and fury. Fox drew a vibroblade, swinging for Rex's throat. Rex barely ducked, but the blade sliced across his pauldron, leaving a smoking scar. He kicked Fox back, drawing his own knife in response. The fight was brutal. Both men knew each other's styles, their strikes countering each other perfectly. But Rex wasn't alone. A blue blur shot through the air. Jesse tackled Fox from behind, slamming him to the ground. Fox struggled, but he was outmatched. Rex stepped forward, his blaster aimed at his old brother's head. His voice was low. "I wish it didn't have to be this way." Fox spat, his visor cracked. "The Republic is dead without him." Rex's jaw tightened. Then he pulled the trigger. The shot struck Fox square in the chest. His body jerked, then went still. Silence fell over the hall. The last remnants of the Coruscant Guard lay scattered across the ground, their bodies motionless. The once great defenders of the Republic, wiped out by their own brothers. Jesse exhaled. "It's done." Rex stared down at Fox's body, a weight settling in his chest. He had fought beside this man, trusted him. Now, he was gone. He took a slow breath and looked toward Anakin. "Let's finish this." Anakin gave him a firm nod. And with that, they pressed forward toward the Chancellor's chambers. The doors to the Supreme Chancellor's office exploded inward as Anakin, Obi-Wan, and a battalion of clone troopers stormed inside. Chancellor Palpatine stood at the center of the room, his face eerily calm. "I take it," he said smoothly, "that my secret is out." Anakin ignited his saber. "It's over." Palpatine's lips curled into a smile. "No, young Skywalker. It is just beginning." The Sith Lord raised his hands, lightning crackling between his fingers. Lightning screamed through the air. Anakin barely had time to raise his lightsaber before the storm of blue energy struck him. The force of it sent him skidding backward, his boots grinding against the polished floor. "Get to cover!" Rex roared to the troopers. The clones of the 501st and the 212th fanned out, blasters raised. Jesse and Apple fired first, their blue bows cutting through the darkness, only for Palpatine to twist his fingers, sending the shots back at them. Jesse barely rolled away in time. Obi-Wan surged forward, his lightsaber flashing in a blur of motion as he engaged the Sith Lord. You've betrayed the Republic for the last time, Chancellor. Palpatine laughed, a sick, rasping sound, as he met Obi-Wan's blade with his own. Foolish Jedi! You were all blind to the truth. You served me all along. Anakin lunged, his blue blade clashing against Palpatine's. Sparks flew as their sabers met in a flurry of strikes. You will pay for your manipulation, Anakin snarled, driving forward with raw fury. His strength forced Palpatine back, his attacks raining down like a relentless storm. Palpatine ducked under a strike and sent a shockwave through the Force, sending Anakin crashing into the far wall. Rex and Cody charged forward with their troopers, unleashing a hail of blaster fire. Palpatine's second lightsaber ignited. A curved crimson blade flared to life in his left hand, spinning with unnatural speed. His movements were impossibly fast. One moment deflecting blaster bolts, the next slashing through troopers with terrifying precision. Jesse barely had time to scream before Palpatine's blade tore through his chest. No! Rex fired a shot directly at the Chancellor's head, but Palpatine twisted the Force around him, the shot curving off course. Obi-Wan pressed forward, his blade moving in refined, calculated defense. Your reign ends today. Palpatine's golden eyes burned with malice. The Jedi are weak. You never had the strength to stop me. He spun, his saber slashing at Obi-Wan's throat. A blue blade intercepted it at the last second. Anakin roared, his strength driving Palpatine back. We'll see who's weak. The duel escalated. Anakin and Obi-Wan moved in perfect coordination. Anakin's raw power balanced by Obi-Wan's flawless technique. Their blades clashed against Palpatine's twin sabers, blue and red clashing in a blur of deadly light. The Chancellor hissed, weaving their strikes with unnatural speed. He spun, kicking Obi-Wan in the chest, sending him sprawling. Anakin saw red. He lunged, his blade cutting through the air with ferocity. Palpatine met his strikes, but Anakin pressed forward, raw power burning through his every move. Palpatine's expression flickered. For the first time, the Sith Lord was struggling. You will fear me, Anakin snarled, his strikes pummeling against the Sith guard. You fear what I will become. Palpatine gritted his teeth, forced to retreat. You are mine, Skywalker. But Anakin's strength overwhelmed him. With a final roar, Anakin struck. His blade slashed through both Palpatine's sabers, cutting them in half. The Sith Lord staggered. Obi-Wan, recovered, leapt in, his blade piercing through Palpatine's stomach. The Chancellor screamed, his body convulsing. Anakin did not hesitate. With one final, decisive motion, he drove his lightsaber through the Sith Lord's chest. Palpatine shuddered, then collapsed to the floor, his golden eyes fading to nothing. The room fell silent. The Dark Lord of the Sith was dead. The Republic shook in the wake of Palpatine's death. With the Chancellor exposed as a Sith Lord, the Senate collapsed into chaos. The war ground to a halt. Separatist forces, leaderless, either surrendered or scattered into the Outer Rim. Every clone trooper underwent emergency surgery. The inhibitor chips, every single one, were removed. For the first time in their lives, the clones were free. Rex stood before the Senate, now clad in formal robes instead of armor. I am not a politician, he said, voice steady. I am a soldier. But today, I stand here as something more. The clones were created to fight, but we are not just weapons. We are people, and we deserve the right to choose our own future. The Senate chamber erupted into cheers. By popular vote, the clones were granted full citizenship. Rex was appointed as the first clone senator, representing his brothers in the new republic. Drop the scenarios you would like to see in the comments, and I will pick one every week for Fan Friday. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.